Hey, is the hater around?
Anyway.
All right. How you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Okay. So, do you remember the 3 reasons of why come the Willie Lynch letter was fake? Well, the three causations, I'm sorry, of the conditions spoken about.
You were talking about that.
Huh?
You were just talking about that.
Mm-hmm. Right. I want to hear from you though.
Hold on.
It was the title to yesterday's video.
Hold on. Give me a second.
That's my wait music right there.
Okay.
On radio, you can't have dead air. So, you know what I mean? So.
Okay.
All right, I had to pause my wait music. Go ahead.
You said urbanization?
I said the 3 reasons.
Urbanization, integration, and migration.
Okay. Can you explain what those mean and what how all of those affected each other?
Now you asking for a bit too much at this time of the night. But
I remember it.
What?
I remember it.
Okay, let me hear what you got.
Do you want me to put them in the correct order?
Yeah.
Okay, migration, urbanization, and then integration.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now you want me to explain them?
Yes, please.
Which one?
Urbanization.
Okay, urbanization is when you got to put them in the correct order or else it ain't gonna make sense. So I got to start with migration. Okay, migration, it was 2 major events that happened that basically shifted the condition in the Black community. First, you had migration, right? And the 2 major contributing factors of that were World Wars I and II in the migrations, right? Now, when migrations, you had a bunch of people who had just gotten out of slavery pretty much in the 1880s, and then they went through the sharecropping era. You went through indentured servitude, or what do they call them? Bootleggers, carpetbaggers, stuff like that. At late 1890s or the late 1800s, early 1900s. So you had all of this going on. Well, between the years, 90% of the Black population in America was from the South. Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Georgia, on South Carolina. The majority of the Black population in America was in the South. Now, going into 1910, the Black population went from the American South. They started to migrate up during the time of World War I, between the years of 1910 to the years 1920. So that was one portion of, let's just say, what's 75 divided by 2? About 37 and a half.
75 divided by 2? Yeah, 37.
Okay, so about 38% of Black people migrated up. They migrated northward, right?
Mm-hmm.
From between the years of 1910 to 1920. They went to cities like Cleveland, Akron, St. Louis, East St. Louis, uh, Columbus, Ohio, Detroit, Chicago, New York, some parts of Virginia. That's where black people went, and that's where you still see these uh, multitudes of blacks at today. I probably missed a city here or there, but they migrated to these major cities. When these people were migrating to these major cities, then the cultural, they still had their culture intact, because in the South, it was a community thing. Most black people were living rural in the South. Most black folks are from little rural towns. So 1910, World War One pops off. Again, you got Buffalo Soldiers, you got niggas going to war, all types of shit. So black folks finally start getting about them little po-hit country towns, as we saw in the movie Life, etc., etc. Now, as they started coming into these towns, they didn't have any money because they were working for pennies on the dollar. They were barely being paid. So now that these black folks are moving into these inner cities, they're getting funneled to the low income areas. So the low income areas is where all of the blacks were basically kept at. And yeah, so yeah, with them, the low income blacks basically being pigeonholed to these few little communities, then that is where we started to get ghettos. We started to get the hood, all of that. So from there, you go on for a little while. Then you have the time of the Great Depression. You have the bootlegging era. Is there something going on with your phone?
No.
All right. Yeah. So anywho, you got the time of the bootlegging era of all of that. And you get the cotton clubs. You have the era that they call the roaring 20s. This is when niggas start putting conks in their hair. All of that was going on during the 1920s. 1929, the Great Depression, yada, yada. So I believe it's 1934. What is it? No. So that goes on for about 20 years. World War II pops off, and I believe the 1939 is when World War II popped off, if I'm not mistaken. During 1935 and 1945, another 38% of blacks start migrating out the South, but instead of going to the North, blacks migrated to the West. That's where you start seeing black folks in Sacramento, black folks up in different parts of Arizona. You're seeing black folks in LA, all over the place. And that's where you start seeing all of the black people at. Now, they also were getting funneled into the low income areas. So now that we got all of these low income areas that are full of black folks, and that's when we get the urbanization.
Okay.
Come in, me and you talked about this yesterday. Urbanization, that's basically when you had an influx of niggas. Right. So black folk or white folks say, oh, we got a problem. These jungle bunnies, they are free. We can't make them be slaves anymore. So you start seeing segregation because slavery ain't enforced no more. I don't have physical control over niggas. So we gonna leave these niggas here and we gonna move out. You start seeing the building up of the suburbs. Suburbs gets built up. White folks move out the inner city. They take the resources along with them. They start building up the suburbs. Now white folks live on the outskirts of the city. Not just in one city. This was a nationwide epidemic. So now, with that, again, as we started to see, well, this did not happen right away. I'm skipping ahead. 1954 came around. Brown versus the Board of Education happened, and it was ruled by the Supreme Court that you cannot segregate people and discriminate against people on the basis of race. That forced integration, because you start seeing the look Ruby Bridges and all of the Arkansas kids going to school with the white folks.
Right.
It's too much like the white, and we get to go to school with us. I mean, you get to share a swimming pool with us. I don't like that shit. I don't like that. So then you start seeing integration. When we start seeing integration, white folks said, fuck that. Now, the few chosen niggas that was able to get in were the ones who look most like white, talk most like white, act most like white. And you, as a beautiful black queen sister, you know, you probably may have gotten some questions about your hair. You know, because it's still, hair is a very big thing in our community, being the black community, African community, Asiatic, if you want to be a bougie nigga. But hair is a very big thing in our culture. And, you know, we always had this thing about nappy hair because we wanted to be more like Massa. Matter of fact, write Massa in the chat, y'all. Folks wanted to be more like Massa. Massa had all of the power. And that was where the conditions of the Willie Lynch letter. That's where they came from, right?
Right.
Did I miss something? Because I know I skipped over on a lot of things that I said yesterday. But that's where the Willie Lynch kind of syndrome came from.
Right.
So, I mean, you know, what do you have to add to that? To, you know,
with the integration, it was also political and economics as well. So,
explain that. Unpack that.
Well, I'm gonna let you unpack that.
You say with integration, there was politics and what else now?
Political and economic.
Well, yeah, definitely. With the integration, you had several different things popping off, right? You had several different things popping off. So during this time that you get integration, you start getting the Farmers Association. You start getting things like Neighborhood Watch. Neighborhood Watch was a political movement to stop niggas from being in your neighborhood. A lot of folks don't know that. But Neighborhood Watch was put there as a subdivision ground for black folks to not be equivalent to that of white folks. So then you had segregation, you had all types of things. You had, again, the denial of home loans. You had a bunch of soldiers returning home from war, having fought in World War II, only to find out that they ain't equal to white folks, the same folks they was just fighting in a war, helping save their ass, right? So, I mean, you had things like the Negro Removal Act, right?
Right.
In the 1930s, black folks, they would get removed. In some northern cities, whites called for blacks to be fired from any job as long as there were whites out of work. Lynchings of blacks surged from 8 in 1932 to 28 the next year. As economic pressure inflamed an already hostile white population, the NRA was enacted in 1933 to address the effects of depression on white Americans. It set wages at $12 a week. But most jobs blacks held were not covered by the law, so employers reduced black wages in order to raise the pay of white workers to meet the NRA wage requirement. According to Georgia peanut farmer President Jimmy Carter, by law, the average black family only got $8 a week because the presumption was they live more cheaply. So those are some of the politics that took place during the migration period. I mean, hell, you got unemployment insurance for white folks. You got, where are we going? Okay, public housing, right?
Right.
Okay, now, the fuck? How the fuck did I get kicked out of my own thing? So you got, cancel that. So you had the public housing, the projects. If I can, I want to transfer attention to this real quick. Now, this is a book right here. That's called How White Folks Got So Rich. This is a private reader, right? This is a book called How White Folks Got So Rich. This is another short book like this one. So this is a good book. We should read this sometime, because if we got conversation about this Willie Lynch shit, then we definitely gonna have conversation about how white folks got so rich, because there's so many nuggets to unpack in there. Hell, we could do an hour show on damn near each topic for real.